What's up, men? Welcome to the Male Cartel podcast. Let's get started.
Do you think men are important? Like for what?
Men are not meant to be dominant. Men are meant to be submissive.
Life's too short to exercise. I'm just gonna be honest.
It's okay to be fat.
Dispelling toxic masculinity and really redefining what it means to be a man. Men can cry. So it's okay to be weak. It's okay to be weak.
I'm telling you right now, not everybody wants to see you win.
You seem to be more woman than you are man. You don't have any manly qualities.
You give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay, it's necessary. How are we going to do without men? If you look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up. These men, they're doing impossible things.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Be a dangerous man. Being dangerous is not being a threat. They're two different things. You can't be a good man if you're not a dangerous man. You say one disrespectful thing to my wife, I am not only willing, but I'm able to inflict great bodily damage.
I'm going to do everything in my power to become a victor and not a victim. I can't explain it, but you better feel me. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, but winners win. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture. What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Here's your host, Nick and Shane.
So who are you voting for?
Just throw it right out.
Listen, just so you know, in 29 years, I've never told anything publicly who I vote for.
Really?
Yeah, because I remember being 18 years old and my grandma sat me down. Old Hazel Gladys sat me down and said, "Son, here's some things that you don't talk about. You don't talk about God with people. Your family business." and then said, "And you don't talk about politics with people."
She must have been a peacemaker or something.
My grandma, yeah, and then she would give you, and also she would give you her piece of her mind, you know. Like I think about that all the time, but she said more cuss words and say how she's gonna beat the poop out of people and all this other stuff, and she would do it too, man. She was like loose cannon.
Yeah, I've never shied away from talking politics.
Obviously, my Facebook post. Go to my post. I'm trying
Shane let somebody get the last word in on me, like 3 comments because he turned off.
I'm gonna turn it back on after this. I'm gonna turn it back on
just so I can get the last.
And then
word
I'm gonna turn it off.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let him.
I'm gonna text
word.
you and be like, "Hey, I'm done.
I'm done," and then I'm gonna go and turn it off. We're gonna leave them on blast and then let my inbox fill up.
Well, I've been very vocal. I mean, back in 2016, I mean, of course, Trump's running again. I was very vocal then that I would not support him. Didn't feel like I consciously could support him, so I made that known, and I didn't vote for him. I wrote it in, but then he was in office, and he did what I felt like he said he was going to do. There was no really controversy. I mean, of course, what the media wants to portray. I don't just go to CNN, MSNBC, Fox News for my info, so I don't just buy the the lines they say or the videos they clip. And so I've never shied away from this is who I support. I mean, my own dad ran for Senate in South Carolina against Lindsey Graham. So I was kind of like his little, campaign communications director on that. I'd leave work and drive 2-3 hours into South Carolina to a 5-minute rally. I remember one time they told him he had 5 minutes and he gets there and they cut it to 1. And they're like, "All right, you got a minute." He's like, "Y'all told me I had 5. I prepared for 5." And they're like, "Oh, you got a minute." So yeah, I've been, we've been a politically engaged family, which a lot of people say, "Oh, you're a pastor, you shouldn't."
Yeah.
But what's that got to do with anything?
Show me in the Bible where it says they don't.
I mean, I preach every Sunday and people walk out and don't listen to what I say.
That's right. That's so right.
That's why I don't know if you saw my post about Halloween. It's like I forget who posted it, the guy who posted it, but he's like, I don't know why everybody's against Halloween. You dress up and pretend every Sunday in church or whatever. So
yeah, they I just grew up. We didn't know much about politics and people, and my family would say this. I would always ask because in the elementary school they would. That's a word I've been trying to say correctly. Elementary, because I call it elementary, and so at the elementary school, we would, you'd be first grade, kindergarten, etc. You'd always have a vote on the president. They'd do that announce in the school, and it was like a fun thing. And I would ask my parents about it. Not my parents, my grandparents. And they would say stuff like because they were blue collar and just like construction and stuff like that. And my granddad was military, ex-military, retired, and they would say as long as we can still work, that's what we're going to vote for. So basically, the implication was those who are like care for the blue collar, those who get up every Sunday, every day and go to work and provide, etc. That's the person who supports that. That's what we're going to do. And they're pretty open about how the cost of products or goods and all that, and how they have to do, and gas prices and vehicles and all. My family was very open of what they're displeased with, I guess you could say. So I kind of grew up like looking at it from more of a rational angle, like, and then just like you, I was in the same boat with you where I was like, no Trump, and then he did what he said he was going to do. The economy was good. I felt like with Obama, there was like more division that was happening. At least I felt it in my spirit. And somebody who's like in the community, I just felt like there was like more division, man. It was like kind of waffle a little bit, and then division, and then the healthcare thing made it a little bit squirrely.
Oh yeah.
Especially didn't understand where the money was going to come from. Nobody really could tell me, and even on that standpoint, thinking about my history with health, that I wouldn't probably have a say so, or be very difficult if something did go sideways for myself, or at that time when I do have kids. So when I have kids, if somebody has the same blood disorders I do, and it's like leukemia, like we're going to have, they may not have a say so, may have the best quality care. Maybe the rates go up. And you know what happened? The rates went straight up. It was like, kill it. So you're like, start looking, I was like, I'm not very smart, but I'm smart enough to look at it and go, something don't seem right about this. And this is probably what's going to turn out. And then they happen. And then Trump, he actually did what he was supposed to do. And I felt like for me and my wallet, everything was much better. My family, like, cost of stuff was better. Everything was better. There was no wars or talk of wars. It was just things were more kind of the dust settled a little bit. And then all of a sudden, the Biden came in. I didn't know anything about Biden, but I saw one video, bro, that made me go, I can't. I can't. There's no way. I don't care what he says. He can give me $1 million, and I'm not going to trust him.
Yeah.
And it was when I saw a picture of Biden videos where Biden was like real close to kids and kind of forcing himself and sniffing and like doing weird stuff.
Yeah. Because
if it was my kid, he'd been knocked out, bro. Like he would have been, I'd treat him like Debo. He would get knocked out. So so from that, I can't trust somebody that's like that. It just would.
Yeah, and I kind of shared on Sunday where I land not like with a specific candidate, but on certain issues, because I see a lot of pastors who either they try to play the middle of the road or they just won't take a definitive stand. And I think that's what's led us to where we are as a country, is too many people want to stay silent. They're afraid of losing big givers, or, there's Democrats in our congregation, or there's Republicans, depending on which angle you take.
Sure.
But back talking about the the elections in schools, Gavin, my oldest son, when he was in school, the election between Obama and McCain. Well, the picture they used for McCain was like this angry kind of looking. Of course, he was a soldier, and he looked more angry. Well, Obama was smiling and looking happy. And so when he told us they got to vote for the president, we asked him who he voted for. He told us Obama because he was smiling. And so, but it was really
that matters, bro, right?
Well, he looks happy. So, but it is reflective of what I see in our country, because I am tuned in to the to policies, politics, the candidates. Like I do a deep dive. I don't just once again watch the video clips.
That's why I go to you for stuff. That's why I'm like, hey, who should I vote for, bro? Like who in this like local stuff. Give me the scoop.
What you see is a lot of tribalism and you see a lot of emotionalism. And so that's why I have had no problems. I'll give you a little kind of story in just a second, but I have no problems calling Donald Trump out. I have no problem standing against things that I disagree with him on. Personally, you ask me, you can call me an extremist all you want, but I believe there should be a national abortion ban. I believe it's murder. I believe it's killing a life and a child. And Trump does not support that.
100%.
And so I stand against him on that. Some of his vileness, I stand against. We, had an opportunity a couple of hours up the road. Trump in I forget which date, but basically it was for the midterms when the governor election was up. So it was probably a couple of years ago. He was coming to, I think it was Rome, Georgia. And not often, people get to go see a former president. And so we took the kids to go. And once again, in 2020, we did support him because of the, different policies and stuff. The kids are probably a little more energetic about supporting him than I am. But we went. And so he is up there and he's still kind of bleeding from the loss in 2020. And it's pouring out. And it's not good. But he's also making comments that aren't right. I mean, he's making statements that are like factually untrue because he is supporting these other candidates that he's putting up, like Purdue. And Purdue got just his butt kicked by Governor Kemp. Governor Kemp has done an amazing job.
Yep.
So he's making these statements. I'm like, that's not true. And this lady starts like kind of nodding her head and arguing with me. So it's funny because the kids laugh at me, but I pull out my phone and I start pulling up stats and I'm telling the lady who's disagreeing with me, I'm like, it's right here. Here's, the stats are right there. The information's right here. What he is saying is not true. So I'm sitting here having this conversation essentially with President Trump at the time. So I have no problem standing against him, speaking up when he's wrong. But see, what a lot of people believe is if you're so-called Republican, I'm more of a conservative than Republican, that, you must give a blank check to Donald Trump. Here's the difference. And this is kind of where I land. I can give you the policies where I stand. I have already voted for Trump early. And the reason I am supporting him, and I kind of shared this with our congregation. I mean, on a theological standpoint, one, it starts with children and women. Abortion, number one. Abortion is murder. Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz supports abortion essentially for any reason up to the birth of the child. Tim Walz signed a bill in Minnesota that basically removed the reporting obligation of the doctor if a baby is born from a botched abortion, whether or not they gave life-saving care to that child. So essentially, they can leave that child, and it has been known to happen. There are people who have been convicted of it.
I know. Yeah.
But now there is no conviction because they don't have to report it. Did you give life-saving care to that child? And so that is extreme. It is evil. It is not democratic. It is demonic.
That's right.
Number one there. Number two, the support of the agenda to allow children to mutilate their bodies or have their bodies mutilated because they're confused about their gender. Some of that confusion comes from culture and the pressure within the schools and other young people. It comes from parents. There's a story out of Texas where a father, they had twin sons. Well, it appears the mom wanted a daughter, got two sons, and so she starts essentially convincing this other son that he is a girl. And I mean, he would do everything the boys would do. They'd wrestle, and he loved that, but he was being convinced that he was a girl. She was able to take him to California, which signed a law that is essentially making California a sanctuary state for the gender ideology stuff. And the dad can do nothing about it because the state law in California protects that mom and that child to be able to go and have his penis cut off, or if it's a girl, have her breasts cut off and start receiving these sterilization drugs. And it is extreme and it's demonic.
Dude, you can't even buy a lottery ticket, but you can get your pee cut off.
You can't get a tattoo. You can't buy a gun.
Isn't that crazy?
You can't go into the army. You can't get into a political rally without an ID.
You be 18 years old. You can do what you want to do at 18. Like I mean, you can get tattooed up like a lizard.
I mean, if you're an adult and want to go be Caitlyn Jenner,
bro, you gotta do what you want.
Totally up to you.
But a kid, I 100% agree with you, bro.
Now, I might not agree with that decision and think there's issues there, but not a child.
Bro,
so
100%.
You've got those two issues. Then you've got the women's sport issue. So those are theological on the front end.
Yeah.
You've got traditional marriage that's been under attack, and of course the Republicans are caving there. So I don't fully agree with them. But here's one of the cruxes of the issue: the Democrats have come out strongly wanting to eliminate or punish what they deem as misinformation. Well, we know where they stand on gay marriage, where they stand on abortion. And so we already see it in other countries, the UK specifically, Canada, and other European countries, where they are arresting and imprisoning people who are giving misinformation, speaking out. We saw it with COVID, and a lot of the things that people were saying with COVID were right and 100% true, but they deemed it as misinformation.
That's right, 100%. I was with that conspiracy. I knew it from the jump, bro.
So you've got so I don't know how Christians, and I'm not saying you're not a Christian, that's legalism, but I'm saying I don't know how Christians with our biblical values, not our values. My values always don't line up with the Bible and God. I have to align them with God.
Yeah.
It's not my values, it's God's values. I don't know how we can go, we value and support these things, yet we're going to go support a party and give our voice and support to a group who is actively fighting against those things.
100%, dude.
And that's before I even get into, and I'm not going to spend the time here, tax policy, financial policy, all gun rights, which help protect that First Amendment. So Trump is an immoral man, or at least his past has been. Kamala has an immoral past. Mm-hmm. They're both immoral people. We just went through a series in Judges, and God used a bunch of immoral judges to bring about righteousness and do good. And Jesus said, if they're not against us, then they are for us. Mm-hmm. I see the Democrat Party moving against Christianity and against what this country has been founded upon, our Christian values. They are not for us because they are fighting against us. And so I'm voting for the person who at least will allow me to have a voice to go, hey, Donald Trump, I disagree with you on this. Mm-hmm. I think there should be a national ban on abortion. I think this, even if you disagree, he's not going to try to silence me, punish me or whatever. So that's where I land, because I think he better allows the freedom for us to vote the way we want to vote, support how we want to support, stand for what we want to stand for. So that's where I land on those issues. It's policy, not personality. It's policy, not person.
Dude, I'm 100% agree with you. I couldn't say it any clearer. That's exactly kind of my lineup. It's always going to be kids, obviously abortion, which pertains to kids, young people, all that, and because it's got what God cares about, and that's the other stuff. I feel like with finances and all, that's like secondary compared to these other things. Now, if we didn't have these other things, wasn't a problem. The monies and stuff probably would move on the list. But right now, that's kind of where it stands as far as our family goes. And my wife, she's pretty open. She's pretty like I'll be more try to be careful, non-careful when it comes to like abortion and whatnot. But the other stuff, I try to be careful. But and my kids, it's funny because they all like everything is Trump, bro. Like they are, we try to talk to them, but they just think. And, and it's even more now that when Trump got shot, my boys think that was cool. Like he gets back up and stuff, and it was cool too.
Oh, yeah, it was.
It was pretty cool. So you kind of think about that. Yeah, it's crazy though, man. It's like, one thing I don't like is when people try to get you to, say their way is right and already, based off of like their thought of like, we have to like help the world, and we got to spread kindness, and we got to do all this, and Trump's so mad, and then they project that on you as if you don't do anything in the community, you don't do anything to help people, you don't, and it's funny because we come out of this crisis, and that's one thing I noticed completely is like some people that I know personally that are my friends who don't listen to the podcast, who I grew up with, etc., who would say stuff. And having to send something, I put a reel on social media, something funny, whatnot, and they send me a private text, and then we have to talk it all out. And I'm like, do you challenge my resume? What have you guys done during the crisis, during the hurricane? What have you done? Please tell me what you've done for your neighbors. Since we're always talking about spreading kindness, because they try to weaponize. I always say the Pagets. Pagets are kind, Pagets don't whine, Pagets are tough, Pagets are grateful. And so these values, they are biblical values. And you go like, they say kindness, you talk about this all the time. And you're like, what have you done? Like, I would think I try to be kind. I may not be nice all the time, but I don't see anything in the Bible that says you got to be nice.
Yeah.
But be kind, sure. And so, that's kind of like, I look at like you and people I just see a lot of the conservative people really serving a lot and being there for people and like leading the charge on like, my mind's going blank, foster care and adoption and all this other stuff. And it's like, everybody's they put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
And the other side is not. It's like, how can we exploit? And it's all based off of feelings. So it's crazy, man. It's gonna come down. When is voting season for those who are listening?
So for those who are voting for the right issues, which would this election be Trump? It's November 5th. If you're voting for Kamala, it is November 6th.
That's right. I thought it was a day afterwards, right?
Yeah. Well, and you make a point, and I'll we'll wrap this bonus episode up with this unless you have something else to say. But that's one of the things that I pointed out to Nikki. An old video surfaced where they were discussing a policy when Trump was in office back between 2016 or 2017 and the end of 2020, and this was, I believe it was on the border or something, and he had the minority leader, House Minority Leader, and the Senate Majority Leader, or that might have been vice versa. He had them in the White House meeting with them, and it was Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, and he is being straight up with them. It'd be like if I had a disagreement with you, and I'm not sitting here playing nice. I'm not, kind of pussyfooting around. I'm telling you straight up, this is what you did, and this is the problem, or this is how it's going to be. This is because this is what I support. This is what I told the American people. There isn't this soft pedaling around. And I told Nikki, I said, this is what people don't understand about him. They'll say he's mean. He mean tweets and stuff. That is the person you want sitting in front of Kim Jong-un or,
all the Kims,
Putin,
bro.
Or
Kim Kardashian.
That's
on that.
Kim Kardashian.
Everybody,
too.
all the Kims, add them up.
Kim actually got him to do prison reform. There you go. But that is the strong leader you want in front of those other strong leaders to say, here's the deal. And like he told the Taliban, if one of our soldiers dies while I'm in power, and he sent him a photo of his house and basically said,
I remember that.
I will come after you. And that not one soldier in Afghanistan died until Biden got in office and did that botched withdrawal. So that is, as a man, I see that and I go, that's the leader, not someone who's him hauling around has to have a teleprompter to tell her everything to say. It just, so my encouragement is, men, we have a voice. It needs to be heard. I know some people's conscience, they're like, I can't vote for Trump. I've been there. I understand. But there are things we're voting for, and God is sovereign over the kingdoms of men and gives them to whomever he chooses.
That's that Daniel verse.
Even the lowliest of men. God has only ever chosen sinful and sometimes immoral men, but it was to fulfill his purpose. Are we saying God is evil by placing evil, wicked, immoral, fallen men into places of leadership? So will he hold us as being at fault for voting for an immoral person who is allowing the right things and doing what he can to protect what is valuable to our families and to our way of life. I don't think he will.
Yep. Good points, bro. Good points in this. Go USA.
You got to close it with, how do the presidents always close it, or the candidates? God bless, and God bless the
God bless
USA.
and God bless the USA.